She opened the door expecting silence. Instead, the most powerful man she had ever worked for stood there, rain on his coat, pain in his eyes, and one sentence that would change both their lives forever. I accepted you quitting, just not losing you. Before this story unfolds, pause for 1 second, like this video and subscribe to True Kindness Tales, because stories like this don't just entertain, they stay with you long after the screen goes darker. Everyone thought Maya quitting her job was a mistake. Some called it emotional weakness, others called it career suicide. She had been the executive assistant to Ethan Cole, a self-made billionaire CEO and a widowed single father whose name carried weight in every boardroom in the city. For 3 years, Maya had been the invisible force holding his chaotic life together, scheduling meetings, managing crises, calming investors, and sometimes quietly reminding him to eat when grief made him forget. But no one knew the real reason she resigned, not even Ethan. They only saw the email. Short, professional, final. Effective immediately. What they didn't see was Maya sitting alone in her small apartment, hands shaking, rereading a message from the hospital about her younger brother's mounting medical bills, or the way her heart sank every time Ethan unknowingly leaned on her emotionally without ever seeing her as anything more than reliable. Loving your boss in silence was exhausting. Loving a broken man while carrying your own broken world was unbearable. So she left. No drama, no explanation, just absence. Ethan noticed immediately. The office felt wrong, too quiet, too disorganized, too empty. Meetings ran late. His son Lucas asked why Miss Maya didn't come anymore. Ethan brushed it off, telling himself employees came and went, but at night, when the house was silent and Lucas slept, he found himself staring at his phone, rereading old messages from Maya, reminders, jokes, encouragements he never thanked her for. Days turned into weeks, then months, and something strange happened. The empire still stood, but Ethan felt like he was failing. Not as a CEO, but as a human being. One evening, Lucas held up a drawing. It was a picture of 3 people holding hands. This is you, Daddy. This is me. And this is Maya. Ethan's chest tightened. That was the moment he finally asked himself the question he had avoided for too long. What if her quitting wasn't about the job? What if it was about me? He dug into the HR files, found her address, and sat in his car outside her building for nearly an hour, convincing himself this wasn't inappropriate, this wasn't selfish, this was necessary. When he finally walked up those stairs and knocked on her door, he had no plan, only regret, courage, and a truth he could no longer ignore. Maya wasn't prepared to see him. Not Ethan Cole, not the man whose presence could still unravel her with one look. She almost didn't open the door. But when she did, time seemed to pause. He stood there without his usual confidence, without assistance, without armor, just a single dad holding a paper bag of takeout he probably forgot she didn't like. I'm not here to ask you to come back, he said quickly, as if afraid she'd close the door. I needed to see you. That honesty cracked something open. They sat at her small kitchen table, the contrast between their worlds painfully obvious. Ethan spoke first, admitting how lost he'd been since she left, not professionally, but personally. How Lucas missed her. How he missed her. Maya listened, tears burning, finally finding the strength to say the words she'd swallowed for years. She told him about her brother, about the pressure, about feeling invisible, about loving someone who never noticed. Ethan didn't interrupt. He didn't defend himself. He just listened. And when she finished, he said the words she never expected. I accepted you quitting, just not losing you. He confessed that grief had blinded him, that he had confused survival with strength, leadership with isolation. He admitted he loved her, not as an assistant, not as convenience, but as the woman who brought warmth back into his frozen life and into his son's heart. Silence followed, heavy and real. Maya didn't say yes. She didn't say no. She said, I don't want my life to revolve around your world anymore. Ethan nodded. Then let me be part of yours. That night didn't end in promises or dramatic gestures, just 2 people choosing honesty over fear. When Ethan left, Maya stood by the door shaking, realizing that sometimes kindness doesn't come loudly. Sometimes it knocks softly, years too late, and asks if it can try again, properly this time. Months passed, but this time things were different. Maya didn't return as an assistant. She returned as herself. Ethan invested in her brother's treatment anonymously, not as a savior, but as support. Maya started her own consultancy, helping nonprofits organize and grow, while Ethan learned what it meant to share control, to show up emotionally, not just financially. Lucas became the bridge between them, weekend park visits, school projects, laughter replacing silence. The public never knew the full story. Headlines talked about Ethan Cole's changing leadership style, his company's renewed focus on empathy and balance. What they didn't print was how a single dad learned that success without connection was just another form of loss. One evening, a year later, Maya stood at that same door again, this time holding keys to a home they chose together. Ethan looked at her and smiled, not as a CEO, but as a man who had finally learned to see. The story didn't end with a fairy tale confession. It ended with something better: mutual respect, healing, and the quiet power of choosing people over pride. And if this story touched your heart even a little, please like this video and subscribe to True Kindness Tales, because kindness like this deserves to be shared. Remember, sometimes the bravest thing isn't staying strong, it's showing up, knocking on the door, and refusing to lose someone who matters.